Hello, welcome to Life Coaching on the Move. I'm your host, Dawn Fiske, life coach, trainer and speaker, and have been for the past 17 years. If you are new to this podcast, then welcome. I am so pleased that you found it. If you are a regular listener, then welcome back and thank you so much for your loyalty and following. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is a practical life coaching podcast that you can listen to at any point wherever you are. And at the time of recording this episode and the last couple and the next few, we are in the midst of the coronavirus. So I make a promise to you that I will make these very practical, as they always are, very user-friendly, with full of tips, but very upbeat, very inspirational, helpful, encouraging. I do not plan to bring your anxieties up any further, to feed any more worries. I plan to lift your spirits, be positive, be upbeat, as I always am, but even more so. There's never been more of a time where that is required than now. So this is not a doom and gloom podcast. It's not a worrying one. It's encouraging and uplifting, and I'm really pleased that you're here today with me. On that note, there has never been a time where people might feel the need to have a life coaching session. If they're struggling with some anxiety, some worries, some adjustments, some issues that they're facing, all being penned in together, the family or work worries, business worries, economy worries, etc., etc. I mean, there are millions of possible things in life coaching that we tackle. There perhaps has never been a time where you may want that more. So just to let you know that I am providing full service as normal, business as usual, but via the virtual route. So FaceTime, Zoom, telephone, those sorts of things, any of the technologies really. I also wanted to tackle the issue of price. Because you are regular listeners, I have in the past offered 10% discount to anybody that listens to this and therefore knows my dog's name, because I'm often recording it out on dog walks with my little dog Millie. So if you quote the word Millie to me, then I know you're a regular listener or a listener and a follower and a supporter, and so therefore we'll knock a little bit of the cash off. For those who do not know my scales of charges, for the corporate world it is very, very different. But for one-to-one private clients, just people like you and I try and offer this to those people in a really affordable way. So my standard charge has been £55. Now, if you're abroad, it's whatever that translates to. So normally I charge £55 to private individuals because I believe I want to make this affordable to anybody. I don't want finance to be to exclude people, because I genuinely want to be able to be there for whoever wants some support, and no more is that relevant than now. So ordinarily I charge £55 because I believe that is less than having our hair done, particularly if you're female. I know it's not quite if you're male, but if you're female, it's less than having your hair done. And as I say that, actually thinking about it, the hairdressers, we can't go to the hairdressers, so we're saving on that. So perhaps a life coaching, virtual life coaching session might be more helpful to you at the moment, as we can't go and have our legs waxed or our hair done or our nails done or anything like that. Maybe this would be more helpful at this time. So I am busy at the minute, but I am happy if you quote the name Millie to me. I'm happy that you're on the podcast, and therefore I will charge £50 for that coaching session. Now, they can be one-off coaching sessions. You don't get tied into, say, 5 or 6 weekly, book in advance, anything like that. You don't get tied into anything. They are one at a time, and you decide if or when you would like another coaching session. So if you want to talk to somebody and get stuff off your chest, or get some practical stuff and tips and techniques and some coaching or some business coaching, if it's in the business world, or career coaching, etc., anxiety, all of those sorts of things, and you would like one session and see how it goes, then just give me a call. via the website www.milestone-coaching.co.uk. You can click on the contact me box, or there's my telephone numbers there and email address there. You can follow me on Facebook there, which I promise will also be motivational, inspirational and positive. And there's also on that Facebook page an opportunity to click onto my confidence group, which is more of a closed group where we can interact more. And you can get involved if you want to. So I think that's everything admin-wise that I wanted to say. Today's podcast is a practical one about working from home. I've been working from home myself for 17 years. So I just wanted to share a few thoughts, a few approaches that I've found helpful, or that other clients of mine have found helpful, or that they've struggled with. So I'm sharing stories and experiences for you about making adjustments and working from home, which seems to be incredibly appropriate and relevant at the moment. But if you're listening to this months down the line or years down the line, there are still, will always be still user-friendly tips that will apply in everyday life, no matter whether we're facing a virus situation or not. Other than that, I will put you now onto the episode, but I wish you all well and I wish you all lots of good health and good spirits. So keep in touch. So today we're talking about what a great opportunity this is that we find ourselves at the moment because of the current climate and the coronavirus. That for many of us, we find ourselves now having to work from home. If you're not already, there's a high probability that you will be at some point very, very soon. Now, I know from working with clients on time management strategies that many of my clients will say things like, I don't like working from home because I get really distracted. I start putting the washing machine on and then I watch a bit of daytime TV and then I surf the net and then I put out some social posts and before I know it, I've got nothing achieved and it's lunchtime. Or another group of my clients will say, if they're struggling with time management, I will say, is there any way you could work from home once or twice a week rather than have to get on a commuter train and use 2 or sometimes 3 hours of your day actually just travelling? Is there any way you could work from home and be more productive and use your time more efficiently and get more done? And they'll say, oh no, my bosses, my organisation doesn't approve of that. They don't encourage it, or won't even allow it. I know that some of you will be thinking, what? But truly, that is still the case in many organisations. Many bosses don't trust that their team will be working effectively at home. They'll think they're on the tennis courts or the golf course or something like that. So there's that handful of people. And then there are other handful of people like me, for example, that's had to work from home. I work from home and have worked from home for the last 17 years that I've been running this company. So we've got quite used to it. So I thought, well, if many people now find themselves in this boat that haven't ordinarily been in this boat or haven't been in this boat willingly or very efficiently, this might be a perfect time to chat about it just briefly on the podcast. Because there are 2 thoughts here that I had about this. First, this coronavirus, albeit it is very scary and very worrying and it's a massive effect on people's health, huge effect on economy, and it could be potentially very bad news for many people. It's going to be a tough time. There will be some good that comes out of it for many of us. It may be hard to see at the moment, but I do firmly and passionately believe that most challenges we go through are an opportunity for learning. We don't really learn much when we're in our comfort zones. We don't really learn much when things are plodding along comfortably. We learn things when we're uncomfortable. We learn things when we're being stretched and challenged and having to dig deep. And this is genuinely going to be one of those times, or is already proving to be one of those times, where we're going to have to dig deep and find some reserves, find out what we're made of, pull together, find new skills, find new strategies, find new mindsets. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Actually, as a coach, that quite excites me, that many of you listening will now be thinking, I'm going to have to adapt. because there's huge change afoot. And whenever there's massive change, we have to adapt to that, or we resist it. And what we resist persists. It's far better, as I have said previously, to adapt to that change and adapt fast. Then you survive much better. So what do you need to adapt to right now? What do you need to change? And what mindsets do you need to change and approaches do you need to change? So with regard to the working from home, if your company is one that doesn't promote it, even though you've been asking for it, or it would really help you, but they don't encourage it and they don't allow it, this is a time where it's going to be highly likely they're going to have to allow it. Now, my belief is that if many of us rise to that challenge and prove that actually we're incredibly effective at home, we're incredibly trustworthy, productive, creative, and work really well and produce some great results and even come up with new ideas and use our time really well, this may well change your company's ethos in the future. And it may well be that when this is behind us in a few months, hopefully, that they will continue to allow this to happen. So it might be one blessing that comes out of this, for example, for you, might be that they will allow 1, 2, 3 days at home, working from home per week, say, if you can demonstrate that actually you do it really, really well. And that they lose nothing. In fact, I firmly believe that sometimes, many occasions, working from home, we get much more done if we're disciplined and if we're strict and if we stay focused. Because where we might spend, let's say 7 hours in the office, how much of that time is sat leaning back on our chair, chatting to our colleague who we share the workstation with, or walking to the water station or the coffee machine or the soft seating area or the cafeteria downstairs or whatever, and catching up with our colleagues, mates, friends, about what they were watching on Netflix recently, what they're doing at the weekend and so on. And I get that. That's normal. That's necessary. That's office banter. That's one of the things I really, really miss about working from home by myself. Although I really genuinely get fond of my clients, really think about them. I might be doing something, driving along and thinking, gosh, I wonder how their interview went, or I wonder how they got on with X, Y, and Z, whatever we've covered. I do genuinely care when we go on that journey together. But it's not friendships. It's not something where I'll be socialising necessarily with them. Very rarely is it ever that. And it's not really a two-way friendship as such. So although I love it, I love my job and I love my clients and I love working with them, it's not the same as office banter, and I really miss office banter. So how much of your, say, 7 hours in the office is spent just doing that? Or how much of it is spent where you're trying to focus, but you keep getting interruptions? One of your team members or your boss or whoever may interrupt you. You're completely absorbed and very focused and concentrating on the task at hand, and someone stands by your desk and asks you a question. And then you've lost your concentration, you've lost your thread. And that takes time, doesn't it? And you answer their question or get the figures that they want or whatever, or go to that meeting they've just called. And how much of your time in those 7 hours is spent with other people putting meetings in your calendar? And so suddenly you see your meeting alert, a reminder flashes up, oh God, I've got to be at the board meeting, or I've got to be in that meeting room for the next hour. Well, none of that is now going to happen while you're working from home. So in fact, the hours that you've got at home, or any of us, if we had been previously or were about to embark on the working from home environment, you will potentially if you stay focused, get so much more done than you've ever got done before. This is a chance for you to thrive and shine and get your time management in check and to stay focused. So what I would suggest is you could really prove and sell this to your company. So going forward, this may well be something you can turn around to your benefit and to the company's benefit. So see it as a plus. So let's think about how actually best to work at home. And it is tempting to get distracted by putting the washing machine on and putting some music on in the background and to place a quick Amazon order and to surf the net and all the rest of it. But we have to stay disciplined. So what I'm suggesting for us going forward now, when so many people are working from home now or soon, is for me, the way I've done it and the way I find really, really works is to stay structured, to have a routine. So, and in fact, actually, I said this to my boys. They're about to be off school early and work from, my youngest school is closing on Friday, and they're having to work from home in the next week or so. They're being sent work, etc. So I have said to them, and I think then we'll take advantage of that, and my husband will also work from home so that we're all four here and we're not contaminating anybody or bringing it back here. We may as well all just stay at home if most of us are here. So having some routine and some structure. So I will still set my alarm clock at the normal time. I will still get up and get showered and walk the dog at the normal time. And I have said to the boys, you are still to get dressed. At weekends, my youngest will stay in his pajamas all day if I allow it, and I often do because it's the weekend. But I've said, you're not doing that. You're not staying in your pajamas all day. This is not time for you to kick out and chill around and play on the Xbox all day. No, that's not going to happen. So for you, I would recommend still having a start time to your day, a work day. A work start time. Be showered and get dressed ready for work. Literally, don't sit there in your pajamas. It affects how you work. It definitely affects your productivity. If I sit here in my dressing gown, I am nowhere near as productive and as professional as if I put work clothes on. Even though I'm not possibly going to see anybody that day, I may be having an admin day and a creative day where I'm writing slides or workshops. But if I was slouching in my dressing gown, I can guarantee I'll be ineffective. If I get up and shower and do my hair and put work clothes on, I'm much more mentally in work mode. Much more. It's just little tricks like that. So staying in that structured day, staying with breakfast, lunch and dinner at your normal times. So I have told the family, I'm sure I'm going to get some resistance, but I've told them we're still going to have breakfast at breakfast time. Not this wandering down at 11 o'clock in the morning with your hair all skew whiff in your pajamas and what's for breakfast. And me, I can't be constantly clearing up breakfast bowls and stuff like that. I need us to have breakfast time. I need us all to go into our... That's another tip for this period of time. We've all got separate work areas. If you've got the space to do that, it's worth keeping in separate rooms. So we're picking up a second-hand old desk that's been abandoned that my husband knows of. We're picking that up from a company for my other son to have, so that each of us have got a desk in our room or the kitchen table where we've all got our allocated work spots and we don't have to be on top of each other. One's in the kitchen, I'm in my room, and the two boys are in their own rooms with a desk now. We've got our own phones, we've got our own devices that we can work on. And I'm going to keep us to a lunch break, so we all will have lunch together and have a bit of light time, a break, and then get back to work and then finish an allocated end of day time. I think if you can do that and bring in a work day, that means you know your allotted time. So you know when you can be putting the washing machine on and when you can be putting the washing out, or when you can do some surfing of the net in your lunch hour or something, in that break time that you've got. So if you have those pre-decided slots and keep structure. It's also important, I think, particularly this time, that we also get fresh air and oxygen, get outside. So open your windows up and ventilate your room. I think it's an old-fashioned way, but the old-fashioned ways were often the best ways. They knew what they were doing. So despite the boys' protests, I'm throwing the windows open every morning, disregarding the weather and ventilating the place. Central heating and warmth is not a great environment for health. It's a perfect environment for the germs to thrive. And getting outside. I'm getting the boys outside, doing some exercise, keeping vitamin D so we don't get rickets, keeping vitamin D so our spirits and mood stays up from the sun. Getting some exercise, and I have said to my oldest, who's a passionate hockey player, that this actually is a perfect time for him to get really fit. He could start running. He could get out and do, buy a skipping rope, get outside, do some skipping. Really good for the fitness. get out on the bikes, go cycling with his dad and their other dads and their sons, have a little cycling group and stuff like that. So you're social, healthily social, but safe and getting fit. It's a perfect opportunity for him to get fit, ready for when his matches are back on. They've all been cancelled now. Same with my husband. His hockey's been cancelled, but he's keeping fit. So that when all our events or our half marathons and all that are rescheduled, we're ready for it. We've got the edge on the competition. Same with our work. If you stick with this and you follow a routine and you stay efficient and productive, you will have the edge on your competition. And at the moment, with businesses being very volatile, any competition we've got against our competitors has got to be a good thing. So keep that discipline, keep that work mentality, keep the structured day, turn your alerts off and stay focused. Don't let your social media keep alerting you and interrupting you. Turn all alerts off, and stay focused on those projects that you're working on, those slides or that spreadsheet or whatever. And also have chance to learn new things. So you may need to learn new technology. You may need to work how Zoom works or webinars work and teleconferencing and stuff like that. There's so much technology out there. I've started to, on a Monday, have a proper download in my head. I get a blank sheet of paper and write down every single thing that I need to achieve in the week. So many of us do that, don't we? We write above a to-do list, but that's often where it stays. It stays on the paper and we just work through it. There's no prioritizing, there's no rigidity, there's no focus to it. But what I do from there now is I actually move those items into the calendar for the week. So I put them, okay, where in the week can I feasibly write that slide deck for that presentation? Wednesday's clear. So I'll give myself half a day, let's say. And actually then the trick is to stay disciplined to that time frame. That's the time you've allowed for it. You need to then drive it and make sure you keep within that time so that time doesn't run away from you and is governing you. You're doing it and you're governing it. You're driving it. So then every day I check my calendar. What am I doing today? I've got that client, but also in between I've got this teleconference or webinar. I've got these 2 hours put aside for recording the podcast and getting that ready to upload. Oh, tomorrow I've got that client, but I've got a half a day booked in for writing slides ready for the meeting on Friday. What have I got on Thursday? Oh, I've got this. So it's not just about doing a complete brain dump on the Monday and having a long to-do list. That's overwhelming and not very productive. It's transferring all those projects, all those deadlines, all that stuff that you have got to achieve by the end of the week, transferring it to your calendar and having reminders and then strictly sticking with your calendar. Now is a great opportunity for you to perfect the way you work, for you to tweak the way you work, and amend it. And it may well be that you'll find that by working from home and sticking to a structure and sticking to a routine and not having those same interruptions and that same office banter and that same temptation to wander off to the coffee machine and things, by not having those, you may well find you don't have to do as much of a work day. You may actually work smarter and more effectively in less time. So that you've cut out the commute, you cut out the travel, the walk into the bus, the walk into the train, the parking up, whatever it is, you've cut all of that out. You've saved cost on all of that travel, hopefully, and time. And you could use that now either in being really, really productive and giving it more time, or I would suggest that you actually will work better and smarter, so you'll gain yourself some more downtime so that you can get outside and go for a walk, a run, a cycle ride, or a game of tennis. Any of those outside activities is still fine. We can keep a meter's distance or slightly more between each other, but you're then seeing some friends or some team members, runners or whatever it is, or you don't have to have a dog to go for a walk, definitely don't. And you can sit outside. As the weather improves, we can spend some time outside. and staying well. So not only could you come out of this time, this challenging time, healthier, i.e. you could have a bit of a tan and some by sitting in the garden as the weather improves, vitamin D, you could be healthier, you could be stronger, you could do some HIIT classes on YouTube, you could do all sorts. So you could come out of this much fitter, much slimmer, because you won't have all the machines at work or the cafeteria. You're in charge of actually what food you eat. So you could go on to salads and whole grains and fruit and veg and things like that. This could be a great opportunity for you to basically shake everything up. If you need to lose some weight, if you need to get fitter, get fitter. If you need to work more productively, work more productively. Persuade your company that working from home is a good thing, that you are really efficient and productive. So there's food for thought there. If you've got any tips as well that you found that works at home when you work from home, then feel free to share them. My website is www.milestone-coaching.co.uk, and on there you can click on my Facebook page and you can request to join the confidence group, so that's a closed group, or you can put comments on there and contact me and make contact about tips that you've used. Share them so that we can all learn, because we're all on a learning curve at the moment in one way or the other. We are learning a lot about ourselves, our jobs, the environment, our community, health generally. We're on a steep learning curve, and let's share what we learn so that we can all benefit. So enjoy working from home. It could be a great thing. You may actually end up not having to work such long hours as you were previously, which would gain you hours. What can you do with those hours? Can you spend more time, quality time with your children? Can you spend time learning something new? Can you spend time doing something new, writing a book, a blog, something like that? Could you learn photography outside, take some great shots outside and get that fresh air? Could you learn to paint and take an easel outside by yourself next to a riverbank or something like that, a woodland, and just paint and be creative? There are so many things that we can do still. We've got to get out of this mentality that we're locked in or we're isolated. That's a terrible word. I know it's in truth that's what we're doing in terms of the virus, but we don't have to be totally isolated. We can still be outside doing gardening, learning things about the garden, perhaps maybe planting things for the first time, a little window box or something, if you're in an apartment, anything like that. So I wish you lots and lots of good health, and try and see the benefit in this and try and see it as an opportunity. And I think if we take that mentality on, that will help us through. That has got to be a better mentality than doom, gloom, worry, anxiety and stress. We've always got a choice how we react. We've always got a choice in terms of what mindset we're going to adopt. So are you adopting a healthy mindset? Are you adapting? If not, maybe now is the time. So I wish you all well, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you on next week's episode of Life Coaching on the Move.